Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. How you guys doing today on this incredible Monday? Happy Monday, by the way. I love Mondays. The kids go to school, it gets so quiet and peaceful. Um, and then when they come home, it gets so loud, and it's nice knowing that the house is full of love. So today I wanted to talk about, have you found your voice yet? And what does finding your voice even mean? And it might mean a little bit something different to everyone, but essentially what it comes down to is, are you speaking your truth? Are you saying what you really want to say? Are you speaking up, or are you and throwing away the key, right? Because I know that most people are zipping their mouth, not saying what they really want to say, and throwing away the key. And at the end of the day, it's not really benefiting you, and it's not really benefiting the other person who could have potentially heard what you really wanted to say, and it might have meant something to them. Or at the very least, you might have just planted the seed with that person, and even if they did not hear you then, one day they might actually hear what it is that you're saying. And in this day and age, everyone is very quick to jump to conclusions and form opinions. And most people are not actually even aware of what listening is. And with everything that's going on right now, as much as I don't like to talk about it, it needs to be said. It needs to be said that there is a division happening with people, and everyone is saying what they want to say, but nobody is listening to the other person. A perfect example that some of you might have gone through recently, or heard somebody that has gone through it, and this separation with the opinions of the masks, the pro masks, the against masks, and people in between who really don't necessarily have an opinion and agree this way and agree this way. I am that person that I agree this way and I agree this way. At the end of the day, I speak out and I say what I want to say in terms of the masks, and it always comes down to, it should be a choice. But at the same time, I understand that in the time that we're going through right now, a choice might not be the best, because we're looking at the humanity as a whole, and there are more people who want to feel safe, and the mask helps them to feel that safety. Now, we're not here to talk about COVID. We're not here to talk about the mask. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you and your voice, and if you have found it, and if you haven't found it, how you can find it. And I have kept to myself for many, many years, and I didn't speak out and stand up for myself. This is where the voice comes in, because if we don't find our voice and we don't stand up for ourselves, others will decide for us of what we can put up with, what we can learn to tolerate, and what we should be doing and shouldn't be doing, and so on and on and on. So in finding our voice, we're also finding who we are. And the only way that we can do that is by practice, right? Anything that we want to have in our life, it doesn't happen like this. It never happens with the click of our fingers. I've tried. I tried clicking the fingers. I want this to appear. Where is it? Why isn't it here? It doesn't happen that way, right? I'm sure you guys will agree that when we want something, it doesn't just happen on its own. That we do need to put a little bit of energy and a little bit of effort into having it, into creating it, into achieving it, into living it. And sometimes there's a reason why things don't happen, snap on the fingers. It's because, so let's say we're talking about finding our voice. If you suddenly woke up one day and you found your voice, which means that you found what you want to say and how you want to say it and all of these things, how well will you adjust to it? Because you've had no practice leading up to that morning. How well will you adjust to it? And I say that because as we are finding our voice, the journey of finding our voice, we learn a lot of lessons, a lot. There's going to be feelings, thoughts, and emotions that will come with it. And if we don't go through that roller coaster, if we don't go through that experience, we're not going to know how to deal and cope with it. Because if we wake up one day and we have the voice, doesn't mean that we have the feelings and thoughts and emotions that we actually want to have when we do use that voice. You see what I'm saying? Is that it's not just the voice, it's everything that you are and who you are that is attached to that voice. Because when you wake up one day, if you wake up one day with that voice and you don't even know how you got it, and perhaps maybe not what everything that you say means, then you have just missed out on the whole entire journey, the whole entire opportunity of figuring out more of who you are. And I found my voice, and you know what? I'm still finding my voice, and I'm still working on it. And I believe it is a lifelong journey, because once we find that voice, we will continue to find more and more and more of what that voice is. And it will continue to expand. Hopefully, as you're expanding, your voice will be expanding. Because, so the voice also means the types of conversations that you have, how you speak, how you carry yourself in any conversation and interaction with humans. And I say humans because I talk to my dog and she listens very well. And she loves everything I say. She agrees with everything. Right? Even when I call her pooper face. But with humans, they don't necessarily all agree with what you say. And here's the other side of it. Okay? As you continue to grow, evolve, and develop yourself, not every person in your life right now is on that same journey. So what you might end up finding is that those that are not doing the inner work will have a different conversation than the one that you are wanting to have. That's where I have found myself a few times over the course of my personal development and personal growth. In practically every relationship, except those that have been on the same or similar journey with me. And it can feel lonely, because how do I put it in simple words? Because you grow, and it's like growing apart. That's what I was looking for. Growing apart. That's what ends up happening when you and your friends start to grow and develop yourselves in different areas, or some that don't at all, because they know and they don't need any help, anything from anyone, because they know what it is that they need and they are perfectly happy where they are. Been there, done that. Been there, done that. I was told that I was not coachable And it's painful to hear. It was painful to hear from me because, oh my God, why would you say I'm not coachable? Right? I am very coachable. I'll listen to everything people have to say, but that's just part of it. That's just a small part of listening to what people have to say, right? So I figured out what coachable meant, because when I was told that, I want to challenge. I'm like, no, 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 I don't agree. I am coachable. I am becoming a coach. I'm working towards being a coach, and a coach must be coachable. And I mean, that is the truth, but most coaches are actually not coachable. So I figured out what that meant, and I realized that I wasn't coachable, and that I didn't even know how to listen, and that I was just so stuck in my own ways and being stuck in the victim stage of my life, where I wanted people to hear me and what I had to say and what I wanted to say. So I started pushing myself to speak up in every possible situation I could. When I felt that resistance come up, don't say anything. You might hurt someone's feelings. That's not I made it about me. And finding my voice cannot be entirely put on myself, in the sense of, if I am worried about what I'm going to say that might hurt someone's feelings, that's me assuming that it might hurt their feelings. I'm basing it on myself, on who I am, but realizing that that person has a different scenario playing in their mind, different thoughts, they have different processes, they have different way of thinking, living, and being. And by me holding back of what I believe might be helpful to them, that might potentially be offensive, or they might not get it. That's the other part. That's me saying no to my voice. That's me saying no to myself and who I am. So I started speaking, right? Part of it was doing videos, right? Speaking and saying what I wanted to say, what was in my heart, what I felt was right. And I'll tell you, not everyone agreed. But the thing is, I learned that it wasn't about other people agreeing. It was simply about me sharing more of who I am with anyone who was curious enough to hear through conversation. And they get to decide if who I am fits into who they are. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. Right? And at the same time, what we do as we go through our life, as we go through our journey of life, all the relationships that we have had throughout life, and we will continue to change those relationships. We'll have new ones, and we'll rekindle the old ones, or we will let go of the ones that are not serving us right now. And it's absolutely fine. But what we're doing throughout this journey of connection, communication, and just being ourselves, and in conversation especially, because we were given the gift of language. And if we're zipping our mouths up and not allowing ourselves to use that, then we are also potentially robbing other people in our life of growth opportunities. And what we do in conversations is, whether a person agrees or disagrees with you, whether they get you or they don't get you, whatever the case might be, what you are essentially doing through verbal communication, the language, is you planting seeds. You're just planting seeds, different types of seeds, right? It all depends of what the person gets from what you say. Sometimes it might be nothing. Sometimes it might be a little bit. Sometimes it might be a lot. And once you find people, because that's the other part of just self-expression and being yourself and expressing yourself verbally, is you will find people that will become part of your tribe. And the only way you will find those people that are part of your tribe is by you being your most authentic self. And once you find those people, you feel the connection and you feel like you found a part of your soul. I've worked in the corporate world most of my life. Since I was 13 years old until I was 30 years old, I worked in the corporate world. I worked at many different companies. And when we go into work, we feel like the people that we're working with are our friends. And I thought I made lots of friends when I was working at all these different places. But we don't. It's very rare that we actually find a friend at our workplace that we actually feel that true connection with. And I mean, it's possible. A lot of people do, but then even more people don't. I know I didn't. And I know that the people that I thought were my friends at work, were not. We're quite the opposite. And I didn't really express myself because I didn't even know who I was. And I am glad that I went through that, all those experiences and all those friendships, however long or short they lasted, to have those experiences, that I can have this conversation now and realize that if I spoke what I felt, that things might have been different. Now, do I regret it? Absolutely not. The only things I regret are the things that I wanted to do but didn't do. So in saying that, as I always say, honesty is the best policy. And I'm going to be honest right here because I believe it's important. So for me, I have been experiencing quite a bit of guilt when it comes to showing up in this group on a weekly basis. And that's why I feel like the first video that I did, when was it, on Thursday, was a little bit awkward in the beginning. And I kept thinking the whole entire day, why did that feel so awkward in the beginning? And it's because I made a promise to you guys. And most importantly, I made a promise to myself that I was going to go live every Monday in this group. And I didn't do that. And I felt like I failed all of you. And I felt like I failed myself, that I lied to myself and I lied to all of you. So I was experiencing a little bit of turbulence, I guess is the word. And it doesn't feel nice. It doesn't. But I took the time to work through it and recognize what was happening. What were those feelings and emotion that I was experiencing? Because they are just messages to me that something feels off. And it's my job as the owner of this vessel to figure out what it means. And I didn't have these tools back in the day. When I say back in the day, I don't mean like when I was a teenager. I mean back in the day, even though it feels like it's been eons, 3 years ago, honestly, even 2 years ago, when I was still battling with myself in many different ways and still trying to figure out who I am and my voice. I'm finding my voice. And the way that I found my voice is through practice. For me, it was live videos. And in those live videos, in that journey of finding my voice, it wasn't just live videos. It was having conversations with people from all walks of life, and then discovering coaching, and then practicing coaching and falling in love with coaching, and then going through IPEC coaching school, which was an intense program. And in there, I was forced beyond outside of my comfort zone. I found my voice even more, working through different programs. Honestly, it came down to also investing in myself and working on myself from within and figuring out what those feelings and emotion meant in the language of words. Because when we feel a certain way, we can't help anyone understand what it means if we don't understand it ourselves. So by giving ourselves the time and the grace to go deep, go within, and work through things, in that we discover more of who we are. In that we find our voice, and we find how do I, Yana Kasperczak, wants to communicate with people. And the only way I can find out that part is by practicing. By practicing and practicing. Go and have a conversation. Ooh, that didn't feel good. Why didn't I feel good? Well, I didn't feel good because of this. Didn't feel good because of that. And not blaming the other person, because the other person had nothing to do with it. They were just a recipient of what you wanted to say. But finding what is it that I did? What is it that I said that created those feelings and emotions? Yes, the other person might be part of it, but what we're picking up in the conversation is energy. So what is it that I said? What is it that I did that threw off that energy, off balance? What is it that now I need to do, or I want to do, or change my language, or how I carry myself, how I express myself? Maybe I use my hands too much. So instead of using my hands all the time, maybe I'll just put them behind my back, right? Or maybe I cross them like this. So maybe you hold your hands like this the whole time and have a conversation, and body language says a lot. So if I'm sitting like this and having a conversation with you, how open do I seem? Do I seem very approachable? Do I seem like I'm ready to hear what it is that you want to say to me? No. If I hold it like this, also no, right? So sometimes what we do with our body makes a difference in conversation as well. Right? If I was talking to you like this all the time and going like this or pointing or however I felt like talking, that might give a different kind of a message. Even if I'm saying something nice and inspiring and motivating, and if I'm going like this, one can experience some guilt and shame because like pointing at you. I didn't know what they say. We say to our children, don't point. It's rude. Because it gets the other person to look like, me? Why me? What did I do? I'm listening. I'm hearing what you're saying. Anyways, I hope all that made sense to you. I feel like it was kind of like all over the place. And yet, it's all on the same topic of finding your voice. Which also more of who you are, who you want to be, and perhaps who you don't want to be. Because sometimes we see experiences as conversation is also an experience, right? This is an experience. Sometimes we might see the experiences as negative and attach heavy emotion to it when it's not meant to be. Right? So seeing like I was talking before, what did I do wrong in the conversation? There's no right or wrong, right? But at the same time, by looking at myself as a whole and as an individual who wants to communicate and come across a certain way, in order for me to get there, I must first take inventory of where I am now and see everything that's in the storage bin. everything I like and don't like, the things I want to keep, the things that I want to get rid of, right? Decluttering and organizing. That's what we do in here. Because in order for me to get to the who I want to be when it comes to communication, I must first go through the journey and figure out the pros and cons, the yeses and the nos, what I want and what I don't want. Because in order to know what it is exactly that we want, we need to know what we don't want. And sometimes what we think we want is not actually what we want. So, and that's why we want this. Awesome. This is what we want. This is what we don't want. So let's start to eliminate. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want that. By the way, this analogy can also be applied to any part of your life. Decluttering, right? Friends, acquaintances, even family members as well. Honestly, anything, and in your closets as well, in your rooms, in your house. Go through the house. I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want this. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then why you don't want it. Because I believe it is important to also understand why we don't want something. Because it helps us to understand more of what we do want and why we want it as well. Take an inventory. Yeah, take an inventory. I like that one. So anyways, that's all I have for you guys for today. Hopefully it was helpful. It does take time to find your voice. We do not wake up knowing all parts of it. It's a lifelong process, just like life is. And it just figuring out how you can enjoy that journey without attaching yourself too much to it. Plan as much as you want, but don't attach yourself to plans 100%, because we all know plans don't always work out, and for a good reason. I'm sure you will agree there's been times where you had a plan and it didn't work out. And even though it might have been painful and devastating, but eventually you were glad that it didn't work out because something better came along. Everything happens for a reason. I have always been a strong believer of that. And over the past couple of years, I've become even a stronger believer of that, based on my own life journey and experiences, and watching, observing, and hearing other people's as well. So the sun always comes out. It rains sometimes it pours, sometimes it thunders, sometimes there's lightning in our life. Sometimes we go out for that walk and we get drenched, right? But in the end, all of that dries up, the sun comes out, and it is a better day. So if today is not that day, if today is gloomy and dark and heavy, it gets better. Tomorrow, the sun is gonna come out. It's supposed to be, I think, 21 degrees tomorrow, or 19 here. So I'm excited for that. I might go and soak up the sun, but honestly, go find your voice. And I would love to hear your experience with this video. Any experience, honestly. Any experience, any thoughts, anything that comes to mind for you, put it down below. And let me know. Let me know what stood out and what you experienced during this video. But until then, bye. And thank you for watching. Until next time, bye. That's a new way I like to say bye. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.